It's 3 in the morning. There's no one here. No performance to give. No version of myself carefully arranged for anyone to admire. Just me and the quiet that hasn't stopped being loud since you left. And in this silence, I've been forced to finally sit with the one truth I spent years running from. I thought you'd always come back. Not because I deserved it. Not because I earned it. But because you always had. Because every single time I pushed, you stayed. Every time I pulled away, you reached. Every time I made you feel like you weren't enough, you somehow found a way to believe that loving me harder would fix it. And I let you believe that. I let you carry that. Because as long as you were reaching, I never had to be afraid. I need you to understand something. I never once feared losing you. Not really. Not in the way a person fears losing something they know is irreplaceable. I feared being alone. I feared being forgotten. I feared becoming ordinary in someone else's eyes. But losing you specifically, losing your love, it never felt like a real possibility. And that is the most shameful thing I have ever had to admit. You were my constant, my given, my guaranteed. While I was out filling my days with the intoxicating feeling of being wanted, being looked at, being chosen by people who didn't even know me. You were home, waiting, and I think somewhere in the darkest corners of who I was back then, I counted on that. I built my entire sense of freedom on the foundation of your loyalty. Every time you forgave me, I didn't feel relief. I felt confirmed. I felt like the evidence was stacking up in my favor. He will always come back. Every argument you walked back from, every silence you eventually broke first, every moment you chose peace over being right, I read all of it as proof that I could go further. That I could take more. The limits you had weren't real limits at all. They were just starting points, and I kept moving them. I used to watch you love me and feel almost nothing except a quiet sense of power. That's painful to write. It's more painful to know it's true. Your patience felt endless to me, and I treated endless things the way most people do, as if they cannot run out. I was careless with your time, careless with your heart. Careless with the 1,000 small ways you kept showing up, even when I gave you every reason to leave. I wasn't grateful. I was strategic. I told myself that wasn't what it was. But sitting here now, in the wreckage of everything I once had, I can no longer afford the luxury of that lie. I was more concerned with winning than with loving you. More concerned with how I appeared than with how I made you feel. I wanted to be the one you couldn't get over, but I never stopped to think about whether I was being worth loving in return. There is a cruelty in that I am only now beginning to understand. It isn't dramatic cruelty. It isn't loud. It's the slow, quiet cruelty of someone who takes and never looks at what's being emptied. I remembered the certainty I used to feel when I'd go too far. That calm, almost bored certainty that you would come around, that tomorrow you would soften and we would return to normal, my normal, the one I controlled. I remember thinking, even in the middle of moments that should have terrified me, he'll be back. Like it was a law, like it was weather, like it was simply what you did. I never once asked myself what it was costing you, what I didn't understand, what I refused to understand, was that every time you came back with a little less. And because I was never paying attention to what I was taking, I didn't notice what was disappearing. I didn't notice the way your eyes stopped lighting up the same way. I didn't notice the way your words got shorter, more careful, like a man who had learned to protect himself from something he still loved. I didn't notice because I wasn't looking at you. I was looking at my own reflection in you, checking to make sure I was still something worth wanting. And then one day, you didn't come back. No warning I had earned the right to expect. No dramatic exit, just silence. A silence so complete, it felt like a wall had gone up in a room. I thought I owned. I picked up my phone so many times in those first days. I had things I was ready to say, moves I was ready to make. I had a whole script. Because that's all I knew how to do, perform, manage the situation. Find the angle that would bring you back into reach. But this time, the script didn't matter. The performance had no audience. You were gone in a way I didn't have a strategy for, because I had never genuinely prepared for it. And here is what I've had to live with since. I thought your love was a door that would always be open. I didn't understand that it was a living thing, that it needed to be held and fed and protected from people exactly like who I was. I thought devotion meant permanence. I thought the kind of love you gave was the kind that endured no matter what was done to it. I made you into something infinite, not because it honored you, but because it excused me. The cruelest part isn't that you left. The cruelest part is that I know exactly why. I know every moment I chose wrong. I can trace the shape of my own damage across the years we had, and I know which cuts were mine. I know which nights I could have been different. I know which words I said because they worked, not because they were real. I know how many times I stood at a crossroads and chose the version of myself that felt powerful over the version that could have actually loved you. I can't know any of it. You were the one person I never thought to be afraid of losing. And that right there is the thing I will carry for the rest of my life. Not grief. Not just grief. Something heavier than grief. The kind of weight that comes from knowing the outcome was never inevitable. The kind of loneliness that comes from understanding fully and without escape. That you are the reason for your own emptiness. I thought you'd always come back. I never learned what it meant to lose you until the day I finally did. And now there is nothing left but this. A sleepless night, an honest voice I should have found years ago, and the unbearable knowledge that the one person I was certain I could never lose is the one person I made absolutely certain would never return.